It is Free Talk Live, and you are invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. As always, open phones for you. You can bring up anything that you want to discuss on the radio with us. And it's Ian and Vincent in here so far. I think we're expecting, hopefully, Chris will be showing up from Think Penguin and Freedom Decrypted in just a little bit. On the way, the FCC has fined robocallers $208 million, but they've only collected $6,700. We'll tell you more about that on the way tonight. But since and you've got a money-related story as well, Vincent. Vincent from Questioning Authority. What's your website?
ShireFreeMedia.com.
ShireFreeMedia.com. Check him out there. And you're now doing 2 Questioning Authority episodes per week, Thursday and Saturday night, which is super cool. So let's jump into this story about the cashless society. As you know, people into alternative currencies, and I don't want to speak for you. You are into silver. That's right. You're interested in silver.
I thought you were referring to the article. No, it's I always try and find alternatives to fiat. Currently on Shire Free Media, the only current type of currency I accept on shirefreemedia.com/support on the support page is cryptocurrency, so no fiat.
Right. So we're interested in alternatives. We want to get out of the government money system. But there are other people who want the opposite. They want everything to be controlled. They want every dollar to be monitored by the state, because the state can't monitor cash. Cash is, relatively fluid. It moves from person to person without asking permission. There's no record necessarily of a cash transaction.
Well, they can't monitor it easily, from my understanding. Like for money laundering things, or when they have like drug busts, they have certain markings that they could tell. They could track certain bills.
Yeah, that's true. And there are certain security features with the bills. But generally, if you've got money and you give it to somebody, then as long as nobody tells anybody, nobody knows about it. And so that bothers some of the people, probably a lot of the people in government and their buddies in the banking system. And they would love to end cash. They would love to make it so that everybody has to have a card, or whatever other cashless technology they've come up with. Of course, we're seeing the stupid chips. I don't know if you've seen these chips on the credit cards yet, but they are just really annoying. They're supposed to make the cards more secure, but it just makes them more annoying because you have to sit there and wait as whatever the device is verifies whatever data is on the chip, and it just makes it take longer. But regardless of the technological aspects of it, there has been a push over the years by many in banking and government to move people towards getting away from cash. And you've got an update on the sort of the rise of the cashless society and maybe some resistance to it. Where's the story from, Vincent?
So the story is from the Associated Press. It was published today. It's titled, "As Cashless Stores Grow, So Does the Backlash." And it takes place in New York, and it begins, Humbert Figueria just wanted a taco. So he was surprised to learn that the dollar bills in his pocket... Oh, man,
me too. It's going to be hard to listen to.
The dollar bills in his pocket were no good at Dos Toros Taqueria in Manhattan. Taqueria, thank you. In Manhattan, one of a small but growing number of establishments across the U.S. where customers can only pay by card or smartphone.
Wow.
Cash-free stores are generating a backlash among some activists and liberal-leaning policymakers who say the practice discriminates against people like Figueria, who either lack bank accounts or rely on cash for many transactions.
And there are a significant number of people in not just the U.S., but also the world, of course, that they don't have a bank account. They have either bad debit score. They've had an issue with a bank account in the first place or earlier in their life when they might have left a negative balance, for instance. So this is something you shouldn't do, but people do it because a lot of folks, when they're younger especially, are particularly irresponsible financially. They don't understand banking or bank accounts. There's no class in government school about how to do banking. And so if you don't have the experience at it, or your parents didn't teach you, the details of, the ups and downs of banking, the risks and the fees and all that, then it can be a shock to the system when a bank account hits you with like an overdraft fee or bounce check fee or something like that. And on somebody who is, let's say, living paycheck to paycheck, their bank account frequently is going to be at or near zero. And so when they get hit with an unexpected fee, it sets them way back. And sometimes it'll be like a cascade of fees where, let's say they're at $10 in their bank account. They wrote a check for $20 accidentally or something. Something happened. They weren't paying close attention to the balance there. The check goes out. It bounces because there's not enough funds in the account. And so then the bank assesses a bounced check fee. Well, the bounced check fee then puts their account in the negative status because usually you're going to pay $20 or $30 for a bounced check fee. So, boom, now they're down to negative $10 in the account. And then some banks will also assess you a negative account fee. So as soon as you hit the negative status on the account, you get another fee that then takes you down to like negative $50. And then the person comes into the bank and they're like, what's my balance? Oh, crap, it's negative $50. I needed that $10. Now I don't have it. And then they get mad, right? Because they didn't know. They claim they didn't know about the fees.
And it exclusively affects the poor also, because if someone's going to be wealthy and have money to be, if they're able to afford those overdraft fees, then they're most likely not going to run out of cash.
They're never going to overdraft ever. And these other folks, the poorer people, are more likely to do it. They're not as responsible with their money. That's one of the reasons why they're poor. They might be spending it on, alcohol or cigarettes or something like that. Their spending habits aren't financially sound.
It could also be just a matter of circumstance, too. I mean, even like if overdrafting, it doesn't always have to be just from a bad decision. I mean, there's
it can be an accident.
Accidents, health bill, emergency things. It's just a way for the banks to make even more money it's just a gross money making scheme.
So then what'll happen is the person is angry. Customers can get upset at things sometimes, and so they'll storm out of the bank and I'm never going to bank here again. And it might feel good, right, to say that and stick it to the man, but the reality is the man knows how to handle that. And so what they do is they report your account. After a certain amount of time, they'll, of course, send you notices saying, hey, we need you to pay up or else we're going to have to close your account. And then they will close the account if it's not paid up in the negative status. And if that happens, you get reported to a company called Chex Systems, CHEX, Chex Systems. And so the next time you then go in, whoever this person is, they go into a different bank. Like, I want to open up an account here at Bank of America. Well, they run through every bank basically runs through Chex Systems, and they run the person's social security number, and they pull up what's called a debit score. So you've heard of credit scores before?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, there's also a debit score, and this is your score on how well you've treated your bank accounts, basically, as I understand it. By no means is that necessarily exactly what the score is, but that's just my understanding of it. And so then the Chex Systems is like, yeah, this person's owes money on this other account that got closed. And so the other bank that was going to open that person's account is like, yeah, we can't open an account until you settle up with TD Bank or whatever. So that's why you get unbanked people. I mean, and then there's just people that just aren't interested in banking. But there's people who've tried to do banking, they've failed at it, and the banking system basically locks them out until they settle up. So that was sort of an aside about why there are so many people, even in the United States, where there's banks on every damn street corner, don't have a bank account.
Figueira, or however you pronounce that, an iron worker, had to stand to the side, holding his taco, until a sympathetic cashier helped him find another customer willing to pay for his meal with a card in exchange for cash.
Oh, wow. They served him the taco before asking for payment.
It looks like it. I mean,
because normally you pay at the register and then you get your foods. That's kind of a crappy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, usually like it's at a sit-down place, they charge you afterwards, but I can't imagine a taco sit-down place.
Let's talk more about the cashless society and people who are not happy about it. 855-450-FREE. Luckily, it doesn't really seem like it's caught on. I mean, do you know of any places like this?
Let's wait to the rest of the article.
All right, we'll get into it. 855-450-FREE. Your calls and thoughts welcome. You can dial in here. The toll-free number is 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live. Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You are invited here. If you want to join us, our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We also have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And Vincent.
Chris joining us from thinkpenguin.com and Freedom Decrypted, which is his radio and video show over at freedomdecrypted.com.
Yeah.
I hear there's a chance you might be setting up a tent at the upcoming Fork Fest and Pork Fest, but we haven't gotten the 100% details on that, so hopefully we'll have some good news to announce before the end of the show. All right, so let's continue here. We've been talking about the idea of the cashless society. And, Vincent, you're sharing a story out of, was it New York?
Yes, Associated Press out from New York.
Where a dude is in a taco shop or a taqueria. He'd ordered his food, doesn't have a credit card. They gave him his food without actually, I guess the cash register you have to pay once you get the food, which is different. That seems like it's going to cause problems. And in this case, it did cause a problem because he's standing there with his food. He's like, I don't have a credit card, and this place only takes cards.
And he was only able to get it when a Good Samaritan who happened to have a card, or a smartphone. I think he used a smartphone. Oh, no, yeah, the Samaritan did use a card. But you could also use a smartphone.
Was there a sign of some kind that says no cash, or...
No, I mean he said he said he was an iron worker, and he seemed like he had no idea. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone in.
Ah, gotcha.
Well, I mean, just because there's a sign up doesn't necessarily mean the customer is going to notice the sign.
That's true.
I mean, if you've ever worked in retail before, you've seen that like customers tend to come in with blinders on, and I've experienced this as a customer as well. Like where as a retail worker when I was a teenager, I'd see it happen to customers all the time where. No matter the fact, I mean, despite the fact that there was a humongous sign that said restrooms and, the arrow towards it at the end of the hallway, like super obvious. If anybody was looking down there, they should have been able to see it if they could read. But yet the number one question that I was asked by people standing in that very hallway, because I was working in the electronics at the back of the store. The number one question I'm asked is, where's the restroom?
It's like in movie theaters, they have a 3D glasses bin that you're supposed to recycle them right next to a trash can. It has like big things with a picture of a 3D glasses, and people just go and toss in the trash can.
I can only imagine how many people throw them away.
Yeah, people don't pay. They don't pay attention.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on the not paying attention thing. But it's still, I still think it's a question. I think I'm assuming this is some sort of legal. There's some sort of legal thing that happened here.
Legal thing?
Was he arrested or?
Well, we'll find out. We would just
somebody bought his meal for him so far, but yeah, please keep going.
I mean, what made this a story? I guess is the question.
It's about the cashless society.
Okay, so this is just a general story.
Yeah, this is just the article painting the picture for the reader of look what happened to somebody who tried to buy some food but didn't have a credit card from a company that has gone credit card or phone only, meaning they don't accept cash. And this is something that we reported on last year. I think it was, I don't know which credit card company. I think it might have been Visa, but Visa had said they wanted to incentivize businesses to go cashless, and so they were offering like a $10,000 reward, but it was more like a contest. So if you went cashless and told them, hey, we've gone cashless, then they might pick you as the $10,000 winner. So most businesses got absolutely nothing from Visa for doing this, but three of them or however many winners they picked ended up winning a little bit of money for going cashless. And you go cashless, you're going to alienate some customers.
Oh yeah, I certainly have avoided certain like on flights and things. I try not to buy the food on the flight, and I always because they only, most of them are now only doing credit cards.
Right.
And even though I have a credit card, I don't like to be told that I can't use any other method of payment.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I want to be able to pay either with cryptocurrency or cash.
Oh man, wouldn't it be awesome if an airline actually accepted crypto? That's not happened yet.
It would.
Think. At least not in the U.S.
Yeah, not. I don't know if any airline that accepts it directly. But
you can buy it.
There might be
from the websites that are like intermediaries. So what was it? Is it Expedia that offers that?
Does. I'm not a fan of them.
Cheap Air. Cheap Air
is the one that I usually go with because I've had so many people have had bad experiences.
There's a couple of them that do it. So
yeah.
So you can buy your ticket with cryptocurrency. but you can't get any of the food on board. Not that you really want any of the food or anything like that. But anyway, go ahead with...
What's the deal with airline food? Am I right?
It's harder and harder to find airline food anyway. I remember back in I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, like before 9/11, that kind of time frame, I remember going on a flight with my parents, and they actually, it was one of those longer flights, and so they actually served food on that flight. I can't tell you the last time I flew out, like, out west.
And you probably didn't pay for it extra either.
Right. Yeah, it would have been included.
Yeah. No, they're still doing it, actually, free food even on like Virgin Atlantic, for example. I got free food when I flew to Europe the other couple months ago.
Okay, Europe, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, usually they're
I haven't had it on a cross-country flight in a long time.
I've had it on all of my cross-country flights. You have to pay for it.
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah. They still usually come around with the carts.
Yeah, they come around with a cart, but that's got the drinks and everything on it typically. So anyway, let's go on.
I had money and I couldn't pay, he said. The issue got some high-profile attention this week when retail giant Amazon bowed to pressure from activists and agreed to accept cash at more than 30 cashless stores, including its Amazon Go convenience stores, which have no cashiers, and its bookshops. That's
interesting.
Amazon declined to say when the change would happen.
So they're going to install machines to accept cash.
I think it's a little bit. It's not as nice as you might want it to be.
What isn't?
You're going to find out in the story. When they say they accept cash now, it's still like at
Amazon's stores.
Yeah, it's not nearly as good as it sounds.
It's going to be a machine. It's going to be like the self checkouts at the.
No, that's not from my understanding. It's going to be more like you have to basically add money to an account and then you can check out. So it's not the same thing.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense. So the way that these Amazon Go stores are supposed to work, which I've never been in one, but supposedly they're going to be expanding them to a lot more locations. They started them in Seattle, San Francisco, places like that. Is you walk in, but you have to scan your app. So you have to have I don't know if it's the normal Amazon app or if they have a special app for this, but you have to scan your Amazon app at like a turnstile of some sort that then lets you into the store.
Yeah.
So they then know you're in the store. They know where you are in the store, right? Because you've got your transponder.
This is just so creepy to me. Like I would not be able to bring myself to do this.
If you think that's bad, did you see the video of the Amazon dirigible?
No, I don't.
A blimp?
Yeah, or it's like airship or something. It's like, I think I saw a video of it on Twitter. It's like a giant airship, like a blimp you'd see over a football game. But then underneath it, you have these drones of packages coming out. So it's like little tiny spiders, flying out when they're born. So like, what the idea is, they're going to and I think they've patented the design for the airship. So this airship's just going to fly around the country, and if you order something, you could have a drone come out and give it to you within I guess at one point in the future, within a few hours of ordering it.
So the idea is you scan your phone, then they know you're in there. You go in, you load up your cart or basket or whatever with whatever items you want, and then you walk right out.
Yeah, I've gone past these Amazon stores, the automated stores, but I didn't go inside because
I would do it just to see what the experience was like as a customer.
I don't want to go through that experience. It seems like a horrible experience.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. But the idea is it's a time saver because you don't have to stand and wait in line before you leave the store. 855-450-3733. It is Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com wants you to know about SaveItPurse.com. Since launching in 2014, over 200,000 users have saved an average of 15% for a combined $4 million using Bitcoin, or BTC. And now you can use Bitcoin Cash, BCH, to fund your account. You can save between 5 to 33% on things you're going to buy anyway when you shop using SaveItPurse.com. Add items to your cart, fund your account, select your discount, and save. SaveItPurse.com. Save ATPurse.com.
Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And we are streaming video live now to 3 different streaming services. We're still on YouTube with the lowest quality feed, 360 lines of resolution. We've had Twitch for over a year over at twitch.lrn.fm. That's the HD quality feed. And then we've just in the last few days added DLive, over at dlive.lrn.fm. This is the new purportedly decentralized-ish, kind of not really maybe video streaming site. And we're at SD 480 resolution there. So different resolution choices for you out there now. And enjoying the DLive experience so far, although today our channel mysteriously seems to have been set to mature audiences. And most of the time, we're just doing radio shows here, so it's like, not particularly mature content. But apparently DLive has a rule that says that if it's political talk, then it has to be in the mature content category. So no matter how explicit it is.
Interesting.
But so my argument is we're not political talk. We are apolitical. I think all of the hosts on this show would love to see politics be destroyed.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, I would have to agree that we're not like a typical political show.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Vincent, you were trying to jump in
I just find it funny. It's like you have one group of people saying like, oh, we got to get these younger people, teenagers to vote. And then on the other end, we're like, whoa, this is too much. We got to label this mature. These young people can't
handle.
Just
have people finding this stuff.
Talk about politics. Oh, God, put it behind a wall, an age wall.
Right, because basically, what they've done is that if you're marked mature and you're on the front page of dlive.tv, you just won't see the mature content. It won't be there on the list of options. So over the last couple of days, we hadn't been in the mature category because we hadn't turned it on. And then we were on the front page because the site is pretty new. It's getting an influx of new viewers this last few days because of PewDiePie over on YouTube. They poached PewDiePie, and they got the number one YouTube channel to say he was going to leave YouTube and join DLive. So, I mean, that's huge news.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the reason why we, came on board. We figured let's get in early. Maybe we'll get some extra exposure. And now we've been marked as mature. And I don't know if it was a bug or if it was a moderator's decision because nobody sent me anything. So I've sent them an email. We'll see what they say back to it.
It's also interesting because, like, I can think of so many different like tech shows that I've listened to over the years. I mean, not that many, but enough of them. And there's always some sort of politics in some sense. So the question is any kind of show basically going to be banned or not banned, but put in this adult category? I mean,
any kind of news, so-called political news show.
Yeah, but if it's a tech show, I mean, you mostly talk about tech. But if there's an issue in politics, it's going to be brought up if it's related to tech.
Right, and then if somebody sees that and they report it, does that mean you get flagged?
I don't know. It seems kind of weird. And the same thing is going to happen for any kind of like gaming shows. I mean, there's any kind of show basically that I can think of other than. I mean, I'm trying to think what kind of show would like not be political. I mean, I guess if it was like, I don't know, like maybe a TV show or something like that.
Well, there's all kinds of entertainment talk shows, right? So like Joe Rogan, for instance.
Yeah, but even the entertainment shows are like they bring up jokes and stuff that are political and stuff all the time. True. I don't know. It seems like most of them are going to end up in the mature. Well, the ones I'm thinking of anyway.
We shall see. So we're going to continue. We'll take your calls and thoughts. You can bring up anything you want. We've been discussing the cashless society and different aspects of that, and we're going to continue with that discussion. But also, speaking of alternatives to the government money system, Bitcoin.com, it's your premier source for everything Bitcoin Cash related. Bitcoin.com can help you choose a Bitcoin Cash wallet, buy Bitcoin Cash, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin Cash. You can also read the latest news or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum over at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. There's a lot of features there, so be sure you check it out. Bitcoin.com. As we continue here, Vincent, you've got the story from, what was it, AP?
The Associated Press, yes, AP.
So they were just kind of setting the stage here for people who are frustrated by this cashless society move that some businesses have been jumping on board with.
Absolutely, yeah. It continues here. There is no federal law that requires stores to accept cash, so lawmakers are working on the issue at the state and city level.
Oh, God. No. I hope not.
Earlier this year, Philadelphia became the first city to ban cashless stores, despite efforts by Amazon.
To ban a cashless store? Oh, I thought they were going to cram cashless stores down our throat.
Well, Well, not in Philadelphia, at least.
I'm still against that, by the way. If somebody wants to go cashless, they should be free to go cashless.
I think it is interesting because if you look at certain countries, they definitely have gone that route where they've attempted to force or intimidate businesses into going cashless. But I'm wondering if this is more of the banks are doing it, and maybe even at a political level they're doing it. So. It's coming from that perspective, as opposed to this is a different group of people who are activists who don't like that idea.
Well, the banks and government are symbiotic, so naturally something the banks want, the government's going to want it as well.
I think it was Sweden the last time we talked about cashless stuff, where it was only like 2% of the people there use cash or something like that. So
I don't know if it was that low, but it was yeah. I mean, the numbers were
very
disturbing.
Low. Yeah,
how few people and I think part of the reason is because there are a lot of places where you can't even pay with cash anymore. So it's it's like they just assume now by your average individual just assumes by default that they can't pay with cash. And so they take out their card.
13% in 2018, according to NPR, different story. Only 13% of Swedes reported using cash for a recent purchase, down from 40% in 2010. So it's a huge reduction in people using cash. Go ahead, Vincent.
New Jersey passed a statewide ban soon after, and a similar ban is working its way through the New York City Council. Before this year, there was only one jurisdiction that required businesses to accept cash, Massachusetts, which passed a law nearly 40 years ago. Quote, the potential societal cost of a cashless economy, I think, outweighs the potential benefits for businesses, says Richie Torres.
There is no benefit for a business. I'd like to point this out. And you I think, can back me up on this, Chris, because if you are accepting credit cards, there are costs associated that are much higher than accepting cash. Yeah. You not only have to pay for the credit card fee of usually about 3% plus 25 cents per transaction or whatever, but also there's the chargeback problem where some kid gets his hands on his mom's credit card out of her purse and orders some products on thinkpenguin.com. You don't know who put the order in. All you know is the credit card went through. Everything seems fine. You ship the products out. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, there's a notice that comes in from the credit card company saying, you've got a chargeback.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a big problem, actually, that so a lot of companies will just outright reject charges if there's any reason at all. Like, even if if say you're ordering, you're traveling to Mexico and you want to order something, they will reject your charge because it's to a U.S. address. Even though everything else matches, they'll just reject your charge automatically. Or if you're going
because of where you are.
Yeah, right.
Well, sometimes even what you buy, like my dad, if he needs, he doesn't buy stuff for like tech stuff too often, but when he does, like if he buys a new computer, almost always his credit card is declined because they think it's fraud, just because he never buys computer.
And it's not even that. There are many banks that will limit you to purchasing $1,000. Anything over $1,000, you'll have to call them about in advance before you place the order. Otherwise, the card will get declined automatically.
Now, that's purportedly for the protection of the customer from fraud and things like that, but it's still a pain in the butt.
And it's also and that's not all cards, but that's some. It's a lot of debit cards and a lot of banks. And that's where you use it as a credit card, so not debit, where you enter your PIN basically. But yeah, we actually go through a process where we manually communicate with each individual customer for any kind of large transaction. And by large, I don't even really necessarily mean that large. Anything over like $100 and something will actually require a customer to confirm. Basically, they will have to log into their bank website and give us a little random code so that we know that whoever placed that order with that card has access to the account.
Really?
Yeah, that's how far we'll go. And
what kind of code?
That's assuming that the addresses don't match.
What kind of code?
The billing and shipping don't match.
Do you have to get?
Or anything else says it's suspicious. Well, we actually generate the code ourselves, and it's on the charge.
And it's on the charge.
So it's a sneaky way of preventing fraud.
That's smart. 855, and you've learned this the hard way,
yes.
Right? 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More on the cashless society. Do you support the idea? It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, and bring up whatever you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Want to let you know how to accept cryptocurrency at your point of sale. If you do a real life business with a brick and mortar location with a cash register, then, or maybe not with a cash register. We're talking about the cashless society. but with a way for people to pay for products or services in a real physical location.
Point of sale.
Exactly. AnyPay can help you with that. They've got a brand new website, helpmetakebitcoin.com, that'll walk you through the steps, and they are easy. If you've ever started a credit card merchant account, you know that is a huge pain in the butt. You got to apply. There's paperwork. You've got to get approved.
Oh, yeah.
There's limits and restrictions. You don't have any of that with AnyPay and cryptocurrency. You just go and create if you don't already have a Bitcoin wallet, you create a Bitcoin wallet, use like Edge Wallet or something like that, and you put your wallet addresses in the back end of the AnyPay.global system. It's super easy. And then you load their app for iOS or Android on your tablet at your register. That's it. You're accepting Bitcoin. You're accepting Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and others, Zcash, and more. Go to helpmetakebitcoin.com, helpmetakebitcoin.com. We'll get back into the cashless society here, but first, Sarah is on the line with us in New Mexico. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yes, as a woman, I happen to like the new gun control law, because it protects domestic violence victims.
You're talking about in New Mexico, the red flag law that basically allows the cops to preemptively steal guns from people?
No, not the cops, Ian, the courts.
Well, the cops are going to do it. The judge isn't going to show up at your house and take
but the
your
courts
gun.
order it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, I don't know, but one of the part of is the domestic violence. So if somebody has a restraining order or they had to call the police because you got a domestic violence record, and then you feel threatened and that person has a gun, there's ways to legally take their guns away.
I think New Hampshire has had issues with restraining orders already. I thought this red flag thing goes even further than that. But I could be wrong. I haven't followed the red flag thing.
One of the other show prep I had was that they passed it, or the governor's about to sign it in Colorado. But basically, I mean, it just solidifies, whatever sort of control or any other sort of like remnant laws they had in regards to taking guns away from, quote, unstable people. It just consolidates it into one law.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, but this is a new thing for New Mexico. This is a very new law for New Mexico. That's why, other states I know, New Hampshire.
Yeah, okay, just to clarify, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sarah. I did just look this up. You mentioned Colorado. And in Colorado, they will be signing into a law, the governor apparently is going to sign. Is this today? Yeah, this is today. This is fresh news here. That will allow a judge to take firearms via order and send cops to take firearms from people they believe are at a high risk of harming themselves or others. So that's different than getting a restraining order, Sarah. In a lot of places, in domestic violence situations, somebody will have their guns taken from them. Those laws have been on the books, I think, in a lot of places for a long time, which I disagree with those laws as well. But this will take that concept even further and basically say, somebody can report to a judge, I think Vincent is going to hurt himself. He's crazy. I've heard him on the radio, and the things he says are crazy.
He was shouting.
Yeah, he's really angry, and he could be dangerous. And then the judge's like, okay, well, we'll just have to take his guns. And then I don't know how you get them back. I'm not sure what process.
That's a rubber stamping process. Yeah.
Yeah, so and Sarah, you support this because you're completely paranoid and afraid of your neighbors, right?
Well, you know what? I've had, harassers. Here's the thing: is that I've lived here, and I heard plenty of women get shot to death.
You heard it?
Shot at work. It was on the news.
Oh,
and they
okay.
kill themselves.
That's different.
They break up. He goes to work, shoots her, and shoots himself. And, they shoot their wife in bed. This has been going on here in the state. Men have known with guns to kill and shoot women here.
You don't think women have ever shot men? You only think it's a one-way? It's a one-way street?
Well, the thing is, it should be both ways. If a woman's, coming over to his work and threatens to kill you, it should be taken away from her.
But what about the other side of it, Sarah, where there are people, a lot of women, as a matter of fact, who have successfully used guns to stop an attacker? Whether it be a woman walking down a dark alley or an unfriendly street, a dangerous area of town.
Or Lorena Bobbitt, she used a knife.
That's true. But I'm talking about women who are going to be victimized. Bobbitt was the attacker in that case. I'm talking about women who...
Well, she was victimized by her husband, allegedly. That's the story. That's why she did it.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, I'm talking about women who are attacked, in whatever place they happen to be by a larger... In most cases, men tend to be larger than women. By a larger, intimidating man, whether the man is armed with a knife or a gun. There have been a myriad of women who have shown a gun, not even had to fire it, but just to scare that person away, to stop the attack from happening. Would you take their guns away too?
Well, I mean, no, that's good for her, self-defense.
But you can't defend yourself if if somebody has gone into the court and has reported you to a judge and says, I think Sarah is going to kill herself or harm another person, and then they go and take your guns from you.
Or if the abuser himself says about their victim,
right.
They say, oh, well, this person's going to hurt themselves. They're depressed because I've been beating them, right? Or that's the implication. Then, if the courts take away that person's gun, then they can't defend themselves.
But those are the reasons. If they're threatening their ex-husband, if I see you with another woman, I'm going to kill both of you, then her guns should be taken away. If she says,
no, I'd say that's a rational response to adultery, but I guess that's just opinions.
Well, I mean, for
Sarah,
whatever,
but what if the person's lying? Okay, that's the point that I think, Vincent, you were making there is you have an abusive husband, you have a wife who's a victim. In that case, the abusive husband doesn't want his wife to arm herself, so he creates a false claim against her, saying that she's dangerous or that she's crazy or whatever, and maybe he, fabricates some evidence, or who knows what it requires to get these orders. It may just be the say-so of somebody. They may not even need any evidence. Like in a lot of cases, a restraining order will be issued temporarily against a person just on the say-so of the person who wants the restraining order.
Yeah.
That's called an ex parte hearing.
As a woman, unless I'm being harassed and stalked and threatened, why would I bother with a restraining order? Why would I bother calling the police and cause trouble? I got enough problems.
Well, that's an attitude that I can agree with. Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
A restraining order, when it comes down to it, it's just a piece of paper,
that's
right?
True.
It's not going to protect anyone.
Nope. Just a GD piece of paper.
It's even less. It's more worthless than a security blanket, because at least a security blanket keeps you warm.
It's what I think of when they want to take away somebody's gun. Well, are you going to take away their car keys too? I mean,
you can run into somebody,
run somebody over and kill them with your car. I don't know. It just seems so ridiculous.
So we continue here. We will take your calls and thoughts about whatever's on your mind. Vincent, we've been discussing this cashless society. Let's continue with the story from the AP.
Absolutely. The, quote, the potential societal cost of a cashless economy, I think, outweighs the potential benefits for businesses, said Richie Torres, a New York City councilman for the South Bronx, who introduced the bill. Policymakers...
I'm sorry, just to add in. We were originally talking about how there's costs to accepting credit cards. There are benefits. The benefit is you're doing what your customer wants. If your customers want to pay with credit card, you got to take credit card because that's what the customers want. But there are costs associated with it, and
I'd say it's
cheaper to accept cash.
Well, and I'd say, obviously I prefer cash. I would just say, to play devil's advocate, another benefit of not accepting cash is you're not as liable to be robbed, right? Because if it's just cashless only, you're not going to
take anything out of the cash register.
Yeah, they're not going to haul off the hard drive or something.
But they've got solutions to these problems with one-way safes and places like 7-Eleven. They've got them, and
I'm just saying in general, what's cheaper, buying a one-way big safe or using? I mean, it comes down to a cost.
It's going to be
cheaper to buy a safe,
cheaper long term,
over time,
right.
Because you're going to get jacked for those credit card fees over forever.
Those fees don't end. They just continue on and on and on.
Right.
I mean, and people also forget it's not really just the 3%. There's also the merchant fee. There's all sorts of other merchant fees that are usually involved. Credit card terminal fees.
Sure, a once-a-month kind of fee that they're
even
for.
cheaper is
and fraud fees.
Forget the safe and just have the classical double-barrel shotgun underneath the counter.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. There's more of the story, right?
Absolutely.
We can talk more about that. Plus, robocallers fined $208 million, but the FCC's only collected $6,800. And I haven't even asked you what you've got yet, Chris. We're going to find out. I'm sure you brought something to the table as well. We got more on the way. Hour number 2 is next. You can join us here. It is Free Talk Live.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. As we continue, we'll take your calls and thoughts about whatever is on your mind, although we did start in the first hour, and we're going to continue talking about the cashless society. And then on the way, the Internet Archive. Chris, you've got a story about this amazing website that basically archives, I don't know, almost the whole web, it seems like. It's crazy.
And it's not even the whole web. It's like the history of the web.
Right, over all time.
So, yeah.
Some government is accusing them of hosting terrorist content. We'll find out what that means here in just a few moments. But first, Vincent, let's continue with your story just to bring our listeners up to speed. There's some people in banking and government that want to promote the idea of the cashless society. Banks, for instance, credit card companies have encouraged businesses, go cashless. It's good. It's good to go cashless. Of course, it's good for the credit card companies. They make 3% at least off of every single transaction in most cases. Some companies like American Express or Discover, I think it's more like 5%, as I understand it.
Yeah, I was looking actually at the charges and the percentage and like what we're paying, and it was 3 to 4%, and maybe it was higher with like something that was not as common.
Right.
So
let's continue here, Vincent. What are they up to?
Policymakers argue that while cashless stores and restaurants aren't widespread now, the practice could expand to more services, including some that cater to low-income customers. Walmart-owned Sam's Club opened its first cashierless store in Dallas last year, using technology that allows customers to scan and pay for items with their smartphones. Kroger has installed similar technology in about 400 stores nationwide. Stadiums in Tampa, Florida, and Atlanta have started to go cashless or nearly cashless, and the Barclays Center, where the Brooklyn Nets play, is now effectively cashless as well. Quote, I want to stop this before it became an everyday thing, said William Greenlee, a Philadelphia councilman who introduced that city's bill.
Which bans cashless stores. And
Yes.
it passed.
Yes.
Did it not? Yeah.
yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it be put to an end too before it gets off the ground. But I don't want to use government to
use
achieve
the government.
it.
Yeah. Look, if somebody wants to go cashless, they should be free to do that. They should be absolutely free. Like our friends at the Bitcoin store that used to exist in Portsmouth. It's closed its doors. They've shifted focus to other things, but we kind of now have it in Keene. But the original Bitcoin store only took cryptocurrency, which essentially made it a cashless store. Yeah, you could put cash in the Bitcoin machine, the vending machine, and buy Bitcoin, but that was the only thing you could buy with cash in the store.
It's it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of stores, a lot more out there that are cashless than you realize. Probably, my company is technically cashless.
You don't have a retail,
we don't
physical
have a retail outlet where people can come in and pay cash. And I mean, you certainly will accept your checks for small purchases and money orders, but. Yeah, I mean, if you want to purchase a laptop, for example, the only way you can do it is either with a cryptocurrency or with a credit card. So
let's continue.
Advocates for cashless bans worry technology is moving too fast for the 6.5% of American households, 8.4 million, that do not have a bank account, according to figures from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Figueroa is among the much larger group considered, quote, underbanked, meaning that they have a primary bank account but regularly rely on alternative financial services like check cashers. More than 24 million U.S. households
Which is bad news, by the way. Stay away from those people. The check cashers.
Oh, yeah.
More than 25 million U.S. households are underbanked, according to the FDIC. The issue disproportionately affects African American and Hispanic communities. About 17% of African American and 14% of Hispanic households have no bank accounts, compared to just 3% of white households, according to FDIC. Figueroa, an immigrant from the Dominican Republic, only opened a credit union account 2 years ago. And Figueroa, he's for those of you just tuning in, he tried to buy a taco in Manhattan and had to have someone else pay it for him because it was cash only.
Right.
Or cashless only.
Sorry. Yeah.
It took another year to build up enough funds to use his debit card regularly. He still occasionally relies on a check casher if he needs money quickly, and much of his income comes in cash from his weekend job as a busboy. He has no credit card and no apps on his phone, and has only shopped online 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually know somebody who is sort of in a similar, or was in a similar situation for many years, where he didn't have a bank account, or he had a bank account, and then, well, at first he didn't have a bank account. I encouraged him to get a bank account, and then he basically didn't have any money in it. So it was like,
time for the fees.
Yeah, right. The fees start building up, and all of a sudden it's like you're in the negative. And so he closed the account, and he just didn't have an account for the longest time. And whenever he wanted to buy, humorously, when he wanted to buy something, he'd actually use cryptocurrency.
Excellent.
But like online. But yeah, he just didn't have a bank account. So it was if he wanted to, like, on planes or wherever he was traveling, if he wanted to purchase something like, food, he wasn't really able to without somebody else paying.
You'd have
it.
to give your guy next to you the cash and then have him use his card.
He wouldn't have asked somebody else. He would have only asked
That'd
somebody.
Be the only way to do it.
Well, if you were asking somebody you were traveling with, as opposed to asking
if you were
a random
traveling
person,
with somebody, yeah.
He would not have asked a random person. I can assure you of that.
Business owners who go cashless say they are following the lead of the majority of customers who are abandoning cash payments. Retailers are under pressure to cater to customers with heightened expectations for fast and seamless service, driven by companies like Amazon, Uber, and Grubhub.
It is true. When have you all taken an Uber before? I imagine you have. No?
Yes? I have, I think, once.
No? Okay, so it's convenient as hell to basically, you don't even have to give the driver your card because Uber already has your card number in the system.
Yep.
And so essentially when you're done with the ride, Uber has a no tipping policy, but I still like to tip anyway. So I usually tip with cash. But you just get out of the car.
Right.
Well, as soon as you get to your destination, there's no fumbling around with, gotta get where's my wallet? I gotta pull my card out, and they giving your card to some person you don't know, and are they making a copy of the, the code on it? And who knows, right?
Yeah.
But if it's in the system, it's a done deal. You just step out and say thanks and have a nice day. So there's definitely some convenience to that.
Leo Kremer, co-owner of Dos Toros, the taqueria where Figueroa, tried to use cash, said the volume of cash transaction at his store fell from about 50% a decade ago to 15% last year. That made the cost and logistics of handling cash especially onerous. Before going cashless, Dos Toros locations were robbed twice.
Oh.
Still, Kremer said the company would adjust if legally required to accept cash.
Well, of course they would.
I.e. forced at gunpoint to accept cash.
I mean, this sounds like there's already free market solutions to these problems. The idea that, you're not willing to invest and you're going to then lose the 15% of your customers. I mean, this just seems absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy. I mean, look, I get it. If you've been robbed, that sucks, and you're gonna, be looking at some solutions. I can understand that, but I can't imagine cutting off 10% or 15%.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
of customers.
I wouldn't do it.
Most of them, they may love your tacos, but they, it's not going to be good enough. Your tacos probably aren't good enough to motivate them to get a credit card.
I could see some businesses in certain circumstances where it may make sense to them. Like maybe people who fly are going to have a credit card. You just know it. All right. Mm-hmm. But even there, almost every one of them, except even there, you'll find that there are situations where, and I'm not even talking about people who are poverty, and I'm not talking about black people even. I'm talking about white people. I mean, you've got young people, students, you've got people, I don't know. I mean, I flew so many times before I was like a teenager, even by myself. And it's like, I wouldn't have been able, if they hadn't taken cash, I wouldn't have been able to, buy the food. on the flight. And
because you couldn't have a credit card, right? You're a teenager or whatever.
I did actually, but by a certain point, I did. At a pretty young age, I was probably one of the first young kids to have
How
some
old
sort
were
of,
you?
I think I was 11.
You had a credit card at age 11?
Well, it was a debit card, not a credit card.
Oh, okay.
But
that's different.
But at that point, most kids did not have debit cards either.
Sure.
And it still acts as a Visa MasterCard. So,
basically, in most places,
and it was very odd. The person, when I went in actually with my mom to get one of these, there had never been the manager had never done it, and she wasn't sure if she could.
Wow.
And she was able to, but
it's just a joint account, right? Like a kid's account at a bank with
I had an account,
mom's name on it or something.
It was a checking account, and whether or not I could get the associated debit card was the question.
855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. But I'm just saying it's a dual account, right? Where one of your parents was on it. They don't let kids just open up their own accounts.
It probably was.
It's always got to have a parental signer. We're coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. Yep, it is Free Talk Live, and we will take your calls and thoughts about whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about money here tonight, specifically the cashless society. But still to come on the way, we got the Internet Archive alleged to be holding onto terrorist content. Chris has that story for us. And since we're talking about money, and we love cryptocurrency here on Free Talk Live, I think I can speak for you guys on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Fair.
You got to have a cryptocurrency wallet if you want to get into things like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And the wallet that I use more than any other wallet is Edge Wallet. And I'm so glad that finally Edge has come on board with a sponsorship here on Free Talk Live. So just to be clear, I used Edge Wallet before they advertised on Free Talk Live, and I used it more than any other wallet before they advertised on Free Talk Live. It's a great wallet. There are some good wallets out there. There's no doubt about it. Edge Wallet is probably one of the easiest, especially for a new person.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the setup of Edge Wallet is just a username and password, and that's what people are used to. Because a lot of wallets with cryptocurrencies, you got to write down a bunch of words, like 12 or 18 or 24 words, and then you have to store those words in a safe place that's not your phone or not the device on which you have the wallet software, maybe your laptop or whatever, storing it in like a safe or in a somewhere else. You still ought to write down your Edge username and password, but it's a lot simpler and a lot more familiar setup than most wallets. It's a great wallet for a new user, but even if you're not a new user, you're old school crypto like I am, it's a great wallet because it'll let you take a bunch of different cryptos: Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, some of the tokens for Ethereum, Monero, Ripple, Stellar, and many more. I love that they've got Monero in there. It's hard to find a Monero mobile wallet.
I didn't even know they had Monero in there.
Edge Wallet, man. I don't know awesome. How many. I don't know. I don't think there are very many at all mobile wallets for Monero. I know for a few years there was nothing. Now they've been building wallet apps. They started with Airbits back in 2014, so this team has experience. They got it for iOS and Android, and you can even buy, sell, and trade and securely hold your cryptocurrencies. They've done a great job. Edge.app is where you can go. Of course, you can go to your App Store or Play Store, but also Edge.app. All right, let's continue with your calls and thoughts. We go to Aaron. He's on the line in the UK. Good morning, Aaron. What time is it over there?
It is currently 1:23.
Excellent. Thanks for staying up late with us. What's on your mind tonight?
It's all right. So I'm just kind of like about the implications of cryptocurrency if it was to be standard.
Cryptocurrency?
So
sure. Go ahead.
About it being mineable, that's basically like if there were to be a standard currency, would it be mineable or would it not be mineable?
Well, if it's a cryptocurrency, most of them tend to have a mining aspect to them, although are the ones that are proof of stake, are those mined at all? Or the mining process is different, I guess, with proof of stake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would think there's some sort of, I don't know, maybe they don't call it mining, but there's some kind of mining.
Well, anytime I get I have a Quantum is a proof of stake coin. Yeah. Every time I get a reward from it, it's like it's a pickaxe. So I imagine it is.
But you're not running the program constantly, are you?
When I do, and I get a reward, that's a Tesla pickaxe.
Okay. So what? I don't know if I really understood your question though fully, Aaron. Go ahead. Can you rephrase
so
it?
Just to be, it'd be like so if cryptocurrency was to integrate it, how would it because let's say there was a robbery, right? All right, cash is basically trackable, right?
Not really. Cash is actually not trackable.
I would be surprised if you reported cash loss and the police would actually be able to find it.
They can't
and identify it and give it back to you.
It's just about kind of
it's not that it can't be tracked, but you're talking about like CIA type of operations where they're tracking it for fraud, not fraud, but money laundering, not even money laundering, fake currencies,
counterfeits.
Counterfeits.
Are you asking, Aaron, what it would be like if there were one widely accepted cryptocurrency in the world of like retail?
Yeah, because if there's just one crypto, right, like every country, every state, whatever used, how would if it was just one?
Well, first of all,
I think
it's unrealistic to think there's going to just be one, because if you've paid attention to cryptocurrency over the last few years, there are thousands of these things out there. Bitcoin was the first one. And for a few years, Bitcoin did exist without any competition, but then Litecoin came out and Dash and all these other ones came out. Yeah. And, I mean, the idea that there's going to be just one seems unrealistic.
I mean, it sounds like he's asking about the stability of cryptocurrency in general more than anything else from what he was
Is that what you're concerned with, is stability?
Yeah, the stability, because you still happen with Bitcoin.
Because it fluctuates the price.
Yeah, that's true. That is frustrating for people to have that happen.
I think what you would see is with increased adoption, you'd see more stability, but also
that's probably true.
Yeah, there's nothing to say that you can't come out with a more stable cryptocurrency. You're basically talking about algorithms, so you probably would have the algorithm react in a particular predefined manner to the demand, so you wouldn't actually end up with more cryptocurrency or less cryptocurrency, thus the price becoming more stable. But it's one thing to talk about, and it's another thing to actually implement.
Aaron, thank you for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, or you can join us on our Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Let's talk to Tom. He's in New Hampshire on our phone lines. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm talking about the spam. I don't know if you've gotten these. A lot of people get them. The message is that somebody is demanding that you send them all this money as Bitcoin or else. And what it's about is they claim they simply send an email with your own email address as the return address and say, see, I've hacked your computer.
Yep.
I've downloaded all your contacts, and I also recorded a video. I activated the camera on your video, and I got the video of you playing with yourself to porno, and I'm going to send it to all your friends and associates unless you send me this, and it's fake.
So the proper response to that is go for it. I'm sure they'd love to see it.
The proper response is to not email that person back.
No, you're right. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that. Don't do what I just said. It was just a joke.
You can't really set it. I take the source code of the message and I send it. I report it to the email addresses and the domains that it came from as a spam report.
Yeah, I've received these
you're probably
emails.
Wasting your time there.
Well, the interesting thing was one of them was actually normally I don't look in the spam folder, but this one for whatever reason I ended up seeing, and I saw this and I forget what the threatening subject line was, but there was like a clearly like threatening subject line. So I clicked like, all right, what is this? What is this? Looked at this. And it was almost exactly what you said, Tom, but there was one other aspect that made it particularly persuasive, and I could see why people would fall for it. Because what they would do is they, at some point, whoever the hacker is, got access to a database of passwords.
Oh, yeah.
And the beginning part of the email will reveal to you one of your passwords that you have used in the past on whatever website it was that got hacked.
Yep.
They're like, we know what your password is, and that's how we got access to, whatever about you.
Yeah.
And of course, most people use the thank you for the call, Tom. Most people use the same password on every website, so it's scary when these emails come in. There's more coming up.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial on in here toll free. Bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And Vincent.
And also want to make sure you know about freetalklive.com and all the great features that we have waiting for you over there. So hop on over, you can grab archives, you can watch us live on video and more. It's all free at freetalklive.com. Now, I want you to also know about liberty.menu. That is for individuals who reject the initiation of force and who agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle. It's liberty.menu. Whether you've got an event that you want to promote, your business that you want people to know about, or digital content that you've created you want people to consume, you can put an entry or more than one up on liberty.menu. It's free to use, so why not? Unless you don't want free publicity. So head on over there to liberty.menu, and you can use code FTL, like Free Talk Live. Get a special Free Talk Live listener badge for your profile. Liberty.menu. Let's go to Philip. He's in Long Island listening online. Go ahead, Philip.
Hey, what's going on, you sexy beasts, the both of you?
Hey, there's actually three of us here.
Okay, the three is.
Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Listen, the whole thing is kooky, man.
What whole thing?
You guys are kooks.
Maybe.
I'm a kook.
Okay.
There's a lot of kooks out there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I dig you guys in a big way, and I hope you go viral and you go on like a radio station. What's going on?
We're on 190.
I miss you guys. Talk to me.
I mean, I don't know if you knew this. Maybe you're new to the show, but we're on 190 radio stations over the whole week. So, I mean, we've already kind of done that. But going viral would be nice. I mean, I would be fine with going viral. We've got, I forgot to mention, we got our Clips channel over at clips.freetalklive.com. That's where people can share out videos of shareable length, not 3 hours, but, you know, a 20-minute or 5-minute clip or something like that.
Well, I've been on a station once before, and you guys talked me down. I'm Philip from Long Island. I'm the man whore.
You're a man whore, meaning you get paid to have sex and you're male?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
So we talked about this previously?
Well, I kind of missed you guys, and
how do you advertise?
I don't advertise.
So word of mouth?
I go to the local Marriott hotel.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So the bag guy at the Marriott or the concierge is recommending you to people who want to prostitute for the night? How does that work?
Exactly. That's very good.
So did you know the concierge, and that's how you were able to set that deal up? Like, how did you end up doing that?
I throw the concierge about $200.
Yeah.
And when there's a convention in town, I focus on one person, which, you know, a lady, you know. And,
you actually have women buying your services? Because normally when I hear man whore, I think that, you know, he's got gay clients.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
No.
Oh, that's interesting. Because normally normally males are considered more likely to be a client of a prostitute, but I guess that it works in reverse. So, okay, you give the concierge $200, and is this every weekend there's a convention he gets $200, and do you pay him in advance?
Of course. And the concierge, I give him $200, and he steers me to women that are out and hanging out at the bar. They're away from their husbands,
right,
all over the United States.
They're wealthy enough to attend a convention, right?
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Tell me how this works. I mean, so has the woman asked the concierge in advance, hey, do you know where I can get a prostitute? I mean, does that actually happen? Or is it he just points out women he thinks might be interested? Like, do they actually ask for this service?
Well, let me ask you something. I'm going to reverse this on you, and you're not going to like it. But yeah, if you guys were away, the three is, how would you work? You know what I mean?
I personally don't seek those services, so I don't. I don't know.
Come on, brother.
No, I don't. I presume I would go online if I were going to look for something like that, but no, I guess that makes sense. I mean, that's what the concierge is supposed to do, right? He's supposed to point you to a good restaurant if you need a good restaurant.
Right.
And if you need a prostitute.
If she's staying in a hotel, right?
Yeah.
And you bring her up and you be like, well, I'm not here, And everything works out.
And so you're in New York, where, of course, there's a convention every damn, day, or every weekend at the very least, so it's probably not hard to are you working every day, every week, or do you take time off? What's your schedule?
I'm not as sexy as you are, but I try to work as much as I can.
I'm curious, have you ever seen the movie? Your experience reminds me of the film Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo with Rob Schneider. Was that an inspiration, or did you ever see that?
Well, you know what? That was a comedy type of thing.
Yeah.
When you walk up on a girl in a bar at the Marriott Hotel, let's say it's, all right, Uniondale, Long Island, and the woman's there, and she's away.
What do you say? What is the opening line? Like, as you're approaching her and sitting down next to her at the bar.
How does this work?
Yeah, to pretend that we're the woman at the bar, and give us your opening pitch.
Well, you never do anything on the opening line. Mm-hmm. You sit next to her and you wait about 25 minutes.
Wow!
And you buy her a drink.
Okay.
And you got to realize that she's a guest in a hotel. If she's not a guest in a hotel, you cut her loose. But if she's in the hotel, you hang out, have a couple of drinks, and this and that. You know how it works, you guys.
I don't know how it works. That's why.
Come on, all you guys
Philip,
been there.
I don't know how it works. That's why I'm asking you, okay?
Yeah.
So I want to hear this. What do you say to him? You've bought her a drink. She doesn't know you're a prostitute at this point, so she's just accepting drinks from you. Purportedly, she's told the concierge she's looking for one. So how do you broach the subject?
No, she doesn't tell the concierge she's looking for one.
Oh, I asked you that earlier, and you said she did.
Yeah, no. What happens is I slip the guy money.
Yeah.
And he tells me, boom, 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 you got 3 girls in the bar. Medical conventions, conventions or.
Why would he need to tell you that there are girls in the bar?
Yeah,
you can go into the bar and see that there are women in the bar. So if they haven't indicated to the concierge that they are specifically looking for a prostitute, how do you know they're a good prospect? Just simply because they're there alone?
Indeed.
All right, so hit me up. Give me the pitch. We're sitting here, pretend. Let's do a little role playing here.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
We're the lady at the bar. You've come up. You've offered us a drink. We've accepted. The drink, because why not? Right? It's a free drink. So we've accepted the free drink. We've been sitting there. You've been making small talk. I presume you're not just sitting there, looking at your glass. So.
That's a professional line. That's a professional,
Are there code words?
Are you saying that's a trade secret and you're not going to tell me what your line is?
Well, I'll tell you guys whatever you want to know. Just ask.
Tell me how you broach the fact that you're a prostitute with her.
Well, she doesn't realize I'm a prostitute.
I know that. You've sat down and you've bought her drinks.
That's right. I bought her a couple of drinks. I go up to her. I take my right hand, and she's to my right. I put my right hand on her knee.
Oh, my.
And we talk back and forth and everything else. And usually, listen, it's only half my style. If she comes down in like a white satin blouse, my favorite, or a plum satin blouse, that's another favorite. So if they come down to the bar looking like that, come on, boys.
I don't know what you want out of me.
A little bit.
I don't know what you want me to say here, because we asked you a question and you haven't really been clear that you put a hand on her leg. A lot of women aren't going to appreciate that at all. That's a pretty forward move for somebody just sitting at a bar who's bought a couple of drinks. I mean, not that I'm an expert at picking up women in bars. I know nothing about it.
Well, apparently you're not an expert.
But you're not picking up a woman. You're trying to get someone to pay you to have sex with them.
That's right.
Okay. Are you going to actually tell us how you do this? Should we hold on to you, or are you just going to keep dicking us around?
I tell her right
Hold
off
on.
the...
Hold on. More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You can dial in here, toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. So hop into one of those, and you will sound almost like you are sitting here in the studio with us. We've got Philip still on the line here. We're going to continue with his call. He claims that he is a male prostitute who picks up female clients in a hotel bar in Manhattan, or somewhere in maybe Long Island, where he's calling from, but somewhere in New York. And first he says he pays the concierge $200 to point out women to him, but these women haven't asked the concierge for a prostitute. So he's just asking for women who appear to be single and are staying in the hotel. He then goes into the hotel bar, finds these women, sits down next to them, and buys them drinks. And we haven't yet gotten to how exactly he converts the woman who's sitting next to him into a client for his prostitution services. That's what we're trying to find out here. He's been a little dodgy with the answers here. And I can understand, Philip, you don't want to give away the tricks of the trade, right? Like, you don't want to give away the trade secrets. I can understand that. But the fact is, the odds are most people are not going to go into this profession. Most people...
Hey, listen, guys,
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't mean to, get apprehensive or anything.
Well, we just want to know, or at least I want to know. I don't know if you guys care,
Ask
but
me.
ask
me what you want.
I find these things fascinating, right? Because, there's not a whole lot of publicity about prostitution and how it all works. I mean, you can read about it online.
Especially a man whore.
Especially a man whore. Exactly.
So do you come out and at some point bluntly say that you're a prostitute or a man whore or a gigolo or whatever it is that you are?
No, what happens is we'll be hanging out in the bar and everything else, and the bartender will be like, just give me a wink.
What's that all about?
Hey, guys, you've been to major hotels in your life.
Sure.
You know what's going on.
No.
Come on now.
I've never worked in a hotel.
I mean, none of us are from New York, so I mean, maybe it's the norm there, but for all of us, at least for me, it's
Atlanta, Chicago, L.A., I work all over.
What are you suggesting, though? When you say the bartender gives you a wink, what is the communication there?
It sounds like they're like having some sort of like relationship going on between him and the bartender at that point.
It sounds like something out of a grocery store dime novel.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
If you're married for 10 years, you go on the road, you're a woman. Okay? And you're sitting in the bar.
Yeah.
And you're hanging out and everything else. If you're a man, switch it over. What would you do?
Was so married, right? I mean, I could answer that. Absolutely not. Get
Come
my work
on,
done
guys.
and go home.
Come on, be truthful.
No, that's absolutely truthful. Adultery is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I think you're the exception here.
If I were in a bar, first of all,
is Bob listening?
You think I'm a disgusting individual?
Yeah, he does.
I don't think that at all. I don't
necessarily think that's disgusting, but I do.
Hold on. Just because Vincent says he wouldn't do it doesn't mean he thinks you're disgusting. You don't think? Do you think?
Well, I mean, if you're I'm not ready to make any sort of moral judgment. I mean, I'm just thinking if you're encouraging people to cheat on their spouse, then yeah, I mean, I think that's immoral.
There's
and
never
not a good
encouragement.
thing to do.
There's never encouragement.
All right. So okay. The bartender winks at you.
If you guys go away and you're working on a job and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you go down to, come on, you guys been down.
Look, Philip, just because some guys are like that, maybe most guys. Honestly, Philip,
be honest.
I am honest. I
Phillip,
wouldn't do it.
Just because most guys might be like that doesn't mean the three in the studio are. Chris, you are not married,
So
but you've got a partner.
Me a monster.
Yeah. What?
Nobody's calling you a monster except for maybe Vincent.
No, I'm not calling you a monster. You're a human being who is an alleged prostitute, and some people.
I'm a man whore.
Right. Some people want to. Okay, some people want to have sex, and they want to have it promiscuously, and that's fine. That's their life. That's their risk. They can take those risks. I just want to know how it all works from a kind of a business. Just I'm fascinated by, things like this that are sort of in the underground, and like there's code words, and there's, so the bartender winks at you. Take us through the process, Philip, and then you can ask a question. Philip, take us through.
If you guys are hanging out and you see something tasty, you want to take a taste.
If it's a delicious chicken, sandwich or steak or something like that, then yes.
Come on, boys.
The way I would approach this is totally different than the way somebody else would probably approach this. I'd just be blunt about it. I'd be like,
"Look, I'm a prostitute. You want some?"
Yeah, right. Like, no, well, that's not even what I was thinking. But just like if I want to go out with somebody or whatever, I'd just be blunt about it. But that's not your normal. Right. But the point that I'm making, that's not necessarily your normal like human behavior like that most people would do, right? So
I don't know what most people would do. Honestly, I have no idea.
I don't think. Well, let's put it this way: I'm not even going to go into how. Yeah, I'm not even going to go into what I would do. But it's just I can assure you that it's certainly what I've done in the past is not at all.
Let me ask you something.
Hold on.
You guys go out of town. You pronate your show and everything else. Come on,
Philip. Finish the story.
When you guys are slagged out,
Philip.
When you guys are slagged out,
us on.
I think he's screwing us around.
Yeah,
Philip. I'm going to give you one last chance.
I'm not screwing you around.
I am going to give you one last chance to tell us how this works. You get a wink from the bartender. You've been sitting with this woman buying her drinks. What happens? You put your hand. You put your hand. He's not going to answer it. Just keep going with the story. You put your hand on her leg. The bartender winks at you. What happens?
Hand on the leg. Couple of moves. We wink at each other. Then I take my right arm, rub her shoulder. Okay? And then we go upstairs because she has a room on the 13th floor.
Now this is a joke. This is definitely a joke.
Ridiculous.
There is no 13th floor in most hotels.
You think it's a joke?
Most hotels don't have a 13th floor.
All right, well, call a Marriott on Long Island. See if they have a 13th floor.
All right, what happens at the hotel room?
Well, we get in. I slam the door.
Sounds scary.
Why would you slam the door?
I undress the woman because she knows why she's there.
When does the money change hands?
That sounds like a fantasy, not a...
Now, you guys...
Hold on. By man whore, do you mean you're a prostitute or you just screw women in bars? I mean, what do you mean?
I'm a man whore.
You're not a prostitute, then. You're not getting paid.
Man whore.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Philip. I've had it.
This is like sex talk on the internet.
Yeah.
And not even good sex talk.
I love what Gene, I think this is what you were laughing about. Christian Anarchist says in the D-Live chat, I can't imagine how hard up a woman has to be to pay this guy for sex.
I was Liberty Girl 1776.
Oh, yeah, she's had some good ones, too. What did she say? She said, LOLs. He just whips it out. How much, ladies? So I guess maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I don't know the definition of man whore. I mean, when I hear whore, I think prostitute.
Right.
So I thought he was a prostitute.
He's a male prostitute is what
he certainly didn't deny it in the beginning parts of the call. When I used the word prostitute, he didn't say, oh, no, I'm not a prostitute. So, like, I think he let us...
I feel like that's the only thing that sounded like that might be actually right. Like, a person who is a male prostitute doesn't like to be called a male prostitute. And I think that...
Gigolo?
Yeah, like gigolo or man whore might actually be terms that like somebody who was a prostitute would use.
All right, we got to go to Urban Dictionary. Urban Dictionary knows all of these things. Man whore.
Well, that's why I was curious with the title of the Deuce Bigalow film, because I always thought a gigolo was male anyways, but it's called male gigolo, so maybe they just added that to...
It's not a prostitute. I apologize. So
what is it exactly?
It's a guy... No, definition number one on UrbanDictionary.com of man whore. A guy who jumps from girl to girl without remorse. He's a player that you should steer away from if possible. He's a sweet talker and makes you believe whatever he says, even when your heart tells you he's lying.
This guy doesn't even sound like he knows what a man whore is.
Well, that sounds like a synonym for womanizer, as far as I'm... like that definition, they could use that for James Bond or for like any soap opera star.
James Bond probably would by this definition, be a man whore.
I mean, it's like I always I used to think man whore was like a masculine version of slut, right? But it's not.
That appears to be what it is.
Well, I mean, the way it says is like irresistible or however it describes it. It's not. It doesn't sound very good. Although in this twisted, messed up clown world society, being called a whore, I guess, is a good thing now.
Here's a shorter definition. This is definition number 2. A man who finds the need to hit on and sleep with just about every female that he comes into contact with. So, yeah.
I'd accept
definition
that one,
3, a male slut, right here. Definition 3, someone who seeks attention from multiple lady partners. You don't want to be seen with one of these. A player, a cheater. Definition 4, charming and cute, well-dressed, clean. So, what he was actually doing was giving us a description of how he picks up women at bars, not that he gets them to pay him for his services.
I mean, we said that numerous times. How do you get them to pay you? And he's like,
he kept dodging around,
right? Like he didn't say that. Oh, I'm paying somebody else in order to help me get in bed with a woman.
Yeah, I mean, putting your hand on somebody's leg, giving them a shoulder rub at a bar, a complete stranger you just met, that's a pretty brazen thing to do. I don't know, maybe it's more common than I think. I know nothing about this. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Hour number 3 is on the way. And terrorists coming up.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
It's Free Talk Live, launching into the third hour of the program. You dial in toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
I'm Vincent.
And don't forget, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. We got features. They are free, including our forum. You can go to forum.freetalklive.com and interact with other Free Talk Live listeners there. That's forum.freetalklive.com. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts, but coming up, Chris, you're going to be telling us about the Internet Archive is currently under fire by some government.
Yeah, the EU is claiming that the Internet Archive is got lots of terrorist content.
We'll get into it, but first, we got Bad Slave, I think. It looks like he's muted his mic. Oh, there he is. Okay, good. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Perfect timing. I wanted to talk first a little bit. The crypto, I mean, not the cryptocurrency, the cashless money is that's just a creation of an avenue the state to track every frigging transaction.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. But that's what that's why I was so surprised by what Vincent's story was saying, is that because the conspiracy theorists for decades, I mean, I can remember Alex Jones back in the late 90s saying that everything was going to go cashless, and here we are 20 years later, it hasn't happened yet. But the conspiracy theories have been touting this for a long time, but the reality is it seems like the opposite is true, where now you've got governments passing laws forcing businesses to accept cash.
I wouldn't say it's a major trend, right? The rest of the article went into it, but it's these city governments that were passing it.
I thought there was a state, Massachusetts, and a couple other states.
Massachusetts, that was a 40-year-old law.
Yeah, but didn't they say there were at least one or two other states that were?
Well, we're talking about. I'm saying like the first city to. It was first cities, right? Yeah. Because the city politicians, councilors have to rely on low-income voters for the most part.
Okay.
So it's like I'd say like just based on that article and trends, it's like the cities, we're going to have that resistance to it, just to prop themselves up in support of low income,
to pander to voters.
But overall, like the major governments, like the state government, the federal government, everything, they're in bed with the bankers.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of time until we're like Scandinavia.
So despite the pushback, you're saying eventually the feds are going to cram this down.
Absolutely,
states.
Well, the banks, not the feds. The feds working for the banks.
The banks, particularly, I think, are a big influence behind this.
The trouble is that that it's more complicated. It's more expensive. There should have never been tolerance, for credit card transactions to be cheaper. They should have always been more expensive because they are more expensive.
Right. What you're saying is, just to clarify, what you're saying is a credit card transaction should cost more for the customer so as to disincentivize them from using the credit card.
Thank you very much.
But the banks were smart about that, and they usually have agreements in place with the merchant that says you can't charge less for cash. You cannot give a discount for cash. You must agree that the price must be what it is, and you have to take the hit.
But that's full. That's full. It doesn't have to be that way. Nobody should agree with it.
I agree with you, but that's what happens. That's my understanding, at least.
And to bow to that was idiotic.
And I've seen some like gas stations. Every now and then you'll see a gas station that offers like a 5-cent cash discount.
Yep.
And I always wonder, how do they get away with it?
That's the way it should be everywhere. You should be able to offer cash and say, it's costing you less money. Give me a deal. And that should never be questioned. But the thing is that, just like your mobile phone is not an opportunity for you to communicate. It is an opportunity for the powers that be that to get information from you.
Yeah, to track your
where you
move.
are, what you're doing, and the fact is that it's all about the non-transparent state we're dealing with that has Assange being collected and thrown in a cage because he's an idiot. What are you smiling about, friggin' Vincent?
Someone on the Twitch. Someone subscribed and their username was Boba Fetish. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
All right.
But the ship's already sailed, Bad Slave. I mean, everybody except for probably even the most poor people have these things. Cell phones are ubiquitous. They are everywhere, at least in the United States. And it's not just in the United States. Whenever I've gone to Mexico, they're all over the place down there, and the people there are definitely not as wealthy as here in the U.S. So, I mean, they're so affordable. Even in Africa, there's a large amount of mobile phones, not necessarily smartphones, but mobile phones are very ubiquitous.
Oh, homeless in this country have smartphones.
My solution for that is that I've got a flip phone. I've got a stupid flip phone.
They still know where you are. Yeah.
And I've got a smart device that all I use is on Wi-Fi.
Not only do they know where you are, but they can listen to every single phone call that you make and read every text message.
Not if I pull the battery out.
Well, then you're not making a phone call. But thank you, Bad Slave, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In fact, we can talk about calls coming up here in a little bit with the FCC story about them fining robocallers $208 million, but only collecting $6,700, almost $6,800. Not a lot. But first, the Internet Archive. For listeners who do not know, you can go. This is one of the greatest features on the Internet. Hands down. Wouldn't you say this is a really useful?
It's extremely useful at times.
It's a historical archive that goes back to the 1990s. I'm not sure what year they started.
I think it's as far back as 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right.
But it's not for everything. It's just some sites.
Almost everything. I mean, every site I've ever had.
I think they have more content from 1998 and onwards.
Okay.
But I think there are a few sites they have from as far back as 1996.
You go to archive.org, and then at the very top of the page, there's the Wayback Machine. You put in whatever URL you want to do a little nostalgia trip back into the past of what it looked like in
GeoCities in 1996,
1999 or whatever. All you got to do is remember the URL, and you just type in the website, and it shows you a list of snapshots that the archive took of the site. So they've got a web crawler that goes through the internet, and it downloads pages. Now, it usually doesn't save the media on those pages in a lot of cases. Maybe some pictures, but it's not real complete. It's not like a complete archive. It's like the text, and they do have a media archive that's, I think, separate from their normal archive, but it's better now than it's ever been. And they are now being targeted by the EU. What's going on?
Yeah, so this is a story from TechDirt, and it's basically a story about the Internet Archive. So the headline is, EU tells Internet Archive that much of its site is terrorist content. So let's see, where does it begin? So the Internet Archive has issued a minor correction. Its original story, noting that it was not actually Europol who sent the demand, but rather the French Internal Referral Unit using it's still basically the government.
The French Internal Referral Unit.
Using the Europol system so that it looked like it was coming from Europol. Here is their update, whatever. So that's, I mean, basically it doesn't change the story. None of the changes, let's see, much else with the details of the original story, which remains below. All right, so we've been trying to explain in the past few months just how absolutely insane the new EU terrorist content regulation will be for the internet.
Another one? Hold on.
Yep.
So we've already talked about the EU. It's GDPR, which basically forced every website in the world to put a stupid cookie acceptance notice on every time
it
you
did
visit
far more
the
than
damn
that,
website.
but yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also this, what was it, Article 13, that's going to essentially restrict... Yeah, it got passed.
It's called the link tax, and it's also known because they're basically going to charge Google, like Google News and websites, to if you link to any kind of news stories.
Oh, I thought Article 13. I was thinking the one that makes it so Twitch and YouTube are liable for their users' content
too, I believe.
Both in the same thing.
Yeah.
So now there's a terrorist law that they're putting into effect over there.
Yes,
we're going to find out more about it coming up here in moments. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. It's the end of internet freedoms. It just keeps getting worse out there with the EU, with the UK, with Australia cracking down.
Even
of course,
in
China.
the United States, we've got the porn law.
There's more coming up here. Your calls and thoughts welcome. This is Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You dial in toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Talking about the Internet Archive being targeted by the EU. Apparently some new information terrorism law, we're going to get into it here, has been passed, and they're now saying...
No, not passed. It's going to be next week.
So they're going to likely pass it then.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to get into a little bit more about that. Plus, you're welcome to call and share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE like freedom. And also want to make sure you know about Twitch. We are on Twitch. It is one of our video streaming services over at twitch.lrn.fm. We've been working towards a goal of getting to the Twitch partner status. However, it is not an easy road. We have to hit 75 concurrent viewers on Twitch at one time. Actually, not one time, but over an entire month, the average basically has to be 75. So that means we're probably going to have to get more than 75 on many streams in order to make sure the average is at that. So if you want to help us, go to twitch.lrn.fm and hit the follow button. And then, if you could, leave your viewing window open. That way we're always there on your computer when you're there if you want to watch or listen to what we're doing. Because, again, we put more than just Free Talk Live on our Twitch channel. There's also Call to Freedom. There's also Questioning Authority, which is Vincent's show. And, Chris, you make an appearance on Call to Freedom on Tuesdays.
I do.
So head on over to twitch.lrn.fm. Or you can also now follow us on DLive, which is the new competitor to Twitch. And we're up there, too, over at DLive.lrn.fm. So feel free to give us a follow there as well. It's a new platform. It's kind of taken off over the last few days because PewDiePie got poached. DLive, I don't know what they paid him, but they got the number one YouTube guy, the number one YouTube channel, to make the flip. Now, he hasn't shut down his YouTube, but he has said that he's going to exclusively live stream on the DLive platform. So over the next couple days, there's going to be a lot of his fans are going to be coming into the site. So since we're there already, maybe we're going to pick up some new viewers, and I think we already have. There's a bunch of new people who found us on DLive. So thanks to everybody for watching and following us on both of those platforms, DLive.lrn.fm and Twitch. jake.leonard.lrn.fm. All right, so Chris, tell me more about what's going on here with this EU. What was it called? Terrorism? What? Some kind of restrictions? Internet?
So I mean, the EU terrorist content regulation is what they're calling it.
Terrorist content regulation. Okay.
Yeah. So it would require the removal within 1 hour content as long as the competent authority within the EU sends notice of the content being designated as terrorist content, which from what I understand is basically any kind of government body, whether it's law enforcement, local police, anybody.
Just send a notice to a website.
Some sort of government.
The government says, we have determined this content is terrorist content. Take it down.
Yeah.
If you're asleep, sorry, you're going to get fined. You got to respond
exactly.
within an hour.
The law is set for vote in the EU Parliament just next week. And if they weren't attempting to show just how absolutely insane the law would be for the internet, multiple European agencies, we can debate if they're competent, decided to send over 500 totally bogus takedown demands to the Internet Archive just last week, claiming it was hosting terrorist propaganda content. This is why it's so dangerous to have these laws in the first place. As soon as you give government the power to censor speech, you no longer have a free society. In the past week, the Internet Archive has received a series of email notices from Europol's European Union Internet Referral Unit, falsely identifying hundreds of URLs on archive.org as terrorist propaganda.
Wow.
At least one of these mistaken URLs was also identified as terrorist content in a separate takedown notice from the French government's Office Central de Lutte contre la...
What's he trying to say,
I don't
Vincent?
even know.
Show Vincent. He knows how to speak French. He was born in Quebec.
L'Office Central de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux technologies de l'information et de la communication. OCLCTIC.
Is that one organization? That's insanely long name for an organization.
That's how governments are, man. They have all these long names. Frequently, the heads of these agencies have long titles, just unnecessarily long.
The PhD.Esquire.Captain, all those titles attached to.
Well, not even those, but just the name of their job is really lengthy in a lot of cases.
All right, you guys want to hear?
So what did it mean? Hold on, you said it. Yeah. What did it actually mean? Do you know?
I'm gonna have to see what it said again.
Okay, hold on. We got to go back.
It's some sort of police department, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it says here the French government's central office of control of. Okay, so it's like it's involving crimes like cyber crimes.
Okay.
Like crimes involving technology or the internet.
Now, I missed a detail here, Chris.
Yeah.
How are they sending these notices out if the law hasn't passed yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was a precursor to the law being passed. I don't know.
Huh.
Somebody sent it out too early. Somebody didn't
just jump the gun.
Realize, they didn't realize it hadn't passed yet. Okay. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's the government. They figure if they send out a notice, the person's going to do it, right?
Well, the UK already does it. The London police actually has a unit that sends out illegal notices that aren't lawful to organizations demanding that they take down like piracy websites and things like that without any kind of court order or anything. And it's and they just a lot of entities, they just comply because it's some government authority, even though they're not even within their jurisdiction of the UK or London or anything.
Yeah, anything that's got a government logo on it is just going to get people's obedience. They're trained for it. It's not even that. There was a news story recently about some guy, and I don't know where this was. I didn't actually read the story, who built Facebook and some other, big internet company out of a bunch of money by just sending them fake invoices.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. And lots of entities do. And you know what? Also, what's crazy is you can also, if you have a check from a company of some kind, you can actually charge the company, just like you can with a debit card, you can charge the company basically whatever you want, and frequently they won't
mean pull
notice
money
it.
from their bank account?
Yeah, you're literally pulling money from their bank account, and they won't even notice it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so you don't even have to invoice them. You can just get it. If you can get a check from them, just start charging their
because then you have their account number and you look up the routing
and that's
number,
all that's needed. And this is why it's important when you have a checking account to actually look at your transactions, because people can just pull money from it.
Yeah, it's happened to the Shire Free Church.
Oh, has it? Interesting.
Yeah, it's happened to us where somebody just decided they were going to pay their Toyota car payment from our checking account.
Yeah, not even with like a debit card number that they stole, just like with the check number.
Just with the checking. Yeah, just with the account number.
Yeah, and it can be done. So keep an eye on it. Yeah, so this law is absolutely insane. So one of the things that they basically sent a notice on was the entire Project Gutenberg archive of public domain texts.
Isn't this Google's project, Gutenberg?
No, it's a very old project that basically it's a content it's a collection of like basically free educational material. Free books, things like that, and I
things that copyright has expired on.
Yeah, I believe the copyright's expired on. I don't know if it's exclusively expired copyright, or if it includes other stuff, but it's certainly like it's not terrorist content or propaganda. Over 15 million freely downloadable texts basically have been they're trying to get pulled, all because I don't even know what their objective is here, but it's absolutely insane. C-SPAN recordings.
Being labeled as terrorists.
Yeah, this is what they're calling terrorist content. C-SPAN recordings, like the television channel.
Does Archive comment in the story? Do they say like we're going to ignore this crap? More come up here in moments. It's
we'll have to get back.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Dial toll free. Bring up whatever you want. Here are numbers: 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Hop into one of those. We'll get you on the air, and you'll sound almost like you are sitting here in the studio with us. Thank you, by the way, to Jared H. He is a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier. That means Jared is contributing $10 per month to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And the idea is simple. You send in $5 a month. He's doing 10, but we only ask for 5. You send in $5 a month via PayPal, via credit card, via Bitcoin, BTC, and we'll give you some access to some cool perks, some cool benefits for being an amplifier, like access to the AMP chat rooms on our Discord server. There's an AMP-only Facebook group if you're still on Facebook, and there's some other perks as well, so head on over to ampamp.freetalklive.com, and please get signed up. It makes a big difference for us. It helps us reach out to more radio stations. We'll be going to the Talkers New Media Seminar in New York City in a couple of months, as we do every single year, and that's sponsored by Free Talk Live amplifiers like you. And so it helps us bring new stations on, and new stations mean new people who are hearing the ideas of liberty, many for the very first time in their lives. So if you like these ideas, if you like the things that we talk about, then please help us out at the AMP program at amp.freetalklive.com. As we continue, we'll take your calls and thoughts. You can bring up whatever's on your mind, and then we'll tell you more about this so-called anti-terror bill in the EU that is already, even though it hasn't been passed yet, being implemented by police departments.
It's already being abused.
Like. Yeah. We don't need to wait for the law
government
to pass.
Agents.
We'll just do whatever we want, which is how government works. I mean, they just do whatever. They're people who are using violence and threats of violence against folks. And now they're threatening the Internet Archive. They're telling Internet Archive, if you don't take down these alleged terrorism articles, which aren't. I mean, you went through the list of them, and they're basically denying it, saying these are not terrorist-related. Then we're going to fine you or put you in prison. I don't know what the penalty is, but it's usually one or the other.
They're calling it terrorist propaganda here, so it's the most absurd thing.
We'll continue.
Politics is terrorist propaganda now.
Sure. Well, politics is terrorism.
Well,
sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's go to Doug in Illinois. Doug, you're on Free Talk Live, listening via the TuneIn app.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you tell me in New Hampshire if you have a law where you are required to be hooked up and connected to the power grid?
It would surprise me if that existed, because New Hampshire's like the woods basically for the most part, and there's a lot of kind of off the grid style people that live here. So I suspect that does not exist.
Yeah, you'd be shocked to find out, and I'm shocked to find out that we have it here in Illinois.
No, I'm not shocked at all. That's Illinois.
And yeah, right. I mean, a lot of it can have to do with the power company, ComEd. Mm-hmm. They lobbied to get the law done, and we're approaching a time here in the very near future where you're going to be able to generate your own power from light and from wind in your own home and have a battery unit in your home and be able to provide day and night power to your home. And I'm a little worried that what they're trying to do can be they're trying to maintain control. You know what I mean? Like our utility here, ComEd, what they did can be they did they lobbied down at the Capitol for a $200 million bailout of their nuclear fleet. And they did the lobbying by doing a campaign contribution to everybody down there, and they got to push through, and now they want another one. I mean, for people who are like pretty much anti-nuclear like me, we're appalled by that. You know what I mean? For the fact that I'm in the middle of a 500-page book called Midnight in Chernobyl right now. And I mean, people need to look at what nuclear power actually can be. We have a plant down here called Byron leaking tritium into the groundwater. You know, I think that here can be we're being a libertarian where we can align with the people on the left. You know what I mean? But it really can be the people on the left in their.
Well, what is the objection to, in your opinion, nuclear power? I mean, is there one or more than one major objection that you have?
There are many. I mean, look, there are many. I mean, nuclear power the majority of the time will work properly. Mm-hmm. But when it will go wrong, it will go wrong. Look at 3 Mile Island. Look at Chernobyl. Look at Fukushima.
But I mean, this is more of a liability aspect. They should not be operating because of the liabilities, and the government has basically removed the liabilities from the nuclear power plants. So I think there's a point to be made here, but I don't necessarily know that there couldn't be a safer power plant.
There absolutely can.
A liability wouldn't be an issue.
Isn't it true that
government.
They've stopped the basically construction of new nuclear power facilities for decades in the United States?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why you don't have that's why you don't have any new developments, because they're literally not allowed to build other things. If you wanted to build, I think it's called a thorium reactor. Are you familiar with this?
I am a little bit, yeah. And they're showing to not be practical either. But I mean, if you want to build a reactor in America,
what's not practical about it?
Because from everything that I've read, I mean, I'm not a nuclear engineer. I'm only an amateur.
Me neither.
From what I've read, they're not practical. I mean, they have their own trouble too.
Well, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have their own trouble. But the big complaint of nuclear power that I've heard is the danger of the nuclear fallout. The something bad happens at the reactor.
And also it creates heat pollution, right? Because they need rivers to have access to water to cool down. The heat pollution messes around with the ecosystem downriver of a plant.
It may not be worse than other power plants.
Radiation. We have radiation everywhere. I mean, like you're on the radio right now. Right now, you have your radio being emitted from a tower, emitting a radio wave, a form of radiation that could be a non-danger. I mean, you can be right there with it. The only thing you're going to do could probably be feel heat. But from a nuclear reactor, you get an alpha emitter, a gamma emitter, and a beta emitter. That gamma emitter can be like a unique type of thing. That can be the type of thing that can really damage your DNA. That can be why people who are around them, they end up getting leukemia. You know, I mean, when you look at like Byron, here they've been dumping, they hit a leak in the coolant, and they were dumping tritium into the groundwater. A lot of people didn't even know it for a long time, and they were drinking it. Now, I think that, look, the government, you can't build a nuclear reactor and bring it online without the government backing. For the fact that in order to bring a reactor online, it could take a decade and over $1 billion in money, and you have to have that government funding backing to be able to do it. They actually do the loan.
Yeah, I think the strongest argument is basically the government removes the liability aspects, which is basically the costs. So if you remove, if you give back the liability, right, to these companies that want to build the nuclear power plants, and you remove the laws prohibiting them from doing so, I think at some point they're gonna come to conclude that there's more cost effective means of providing power. They're not in the nuclear business; they're in the power business. So. Yeah, I mean it's just a matter of changing the laws such that they're actually principled. The principled libertarian. They follow the principled libertarian stance.
I wanted to bring that up about the whole energy at home thing, for the fact that I didn't even know about it until I looked under Illinois law, and then I found out that you pretty much have it all throughout the country. You have to be hooked up to the power grid.
Do you have to be hooked up to? I'm just curious. Do you have to also be hooked up to the septic system there?
That I don't know about, but I mean,
it's in New Hampshire. At least in Hanover, you do. A buddy of mine, he built his own house, and the town forced him to dump like $30,000 on getting his house connected to the sewer system.
In Keene, they force you to get onto the city sewer system. That's definitely true. Thank you for the call, Doug. I appreciate hearing from you.
Is that even if you're in the outskirts of Keene, like somewhere not
anywhere in the city?
Anywhere. But what constitutes the city? Because it's like you have to go. You can go pretty
city
far.
Limits, whatever the city limits are.
But the city limits, don't they make up most of the?
They go into the woods.
They go to the next town, right? So if you're too far away from the sewer system, how would you connect?
Well, that's not their problem. That's your problem. That's exactly what happened with Dave. I mean, he lives in the wood. It's like, Hanover's like a rural college
If you want to live in the
but-
woods, don't live in Keene.
Or Hanover.
You're crazy. Because, you're going to pay way more in taxes. Anyway, thorium's interesting, and it sounded like he didn't know a whole lot about it, but the big scare with nuclear facilities is meltdowns, right?
Yeah.
Chernobyl. He brought up Chernobyl. It says here, and I've read articles about this before.
And leaks, too. That's what his main thing was, leaks. Because with
meltdowns,
meltdowns, you could evacuate. With meltdowns, you could evacuate like the whole area. But with leaks, no one knows about it. So for like decades, you could be getting cancer or just other sorts of deadly radiation without even knowing about it.
That's the kind of thing that can be tested for probably, too. So
there's been plenty of stuff getting leaked in Hanover from some of the Dartmouth's machinations, and like people, they either don't care or the testing gets covered up. So
nuclear meltdowns, thorium reactors, basically don't have the opportunity to melt down. It says
if
here,
they work properly,
yeah, and the reactors don't need to compress their coolants under the extreme pressures because of the process of using thorium. Like most nuclear facilities, eliminating the risk of explosion. There's a whole lot more about thorium and why it's safer. We can continue here, but your calls and thoughts are welcome. This is Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free to join us here in the remaining moments. We got time for you. The remaining moments, that is, of our radio show, because after this is over, we're going internet only. We used to be Twitch only. I can't say that anymore because we're also going to be on D-Live. So it'll be internet only, the after show, which we like to call Freer Talk Live. So stick around for that. You can find us over at twitch.lrn.fm or dlive.lrn.fm. Ian, Chris, and Vincent in the studio here tonight. And before we go on with your calls, I wanted to just refresh myself and also continue to discuss briefly this thorium concept because people are afraid. A lot of folks out there are afraid of nuclear reactors. Understandably, there have been some horror stories, despite generally apparently having a pretty good safety record as an industry. When the bad news comes, it's usually pretty scary and pretty bad. I mean, of course, a lot of people cite Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island as examples of horrific examples, from the past. But, it begs the question, what are the alternatives to nuclear within the nuclear power? What's the alternative to uranium? Well, it's thorium. And Martin Katusa over at Forbes.com has a story about this, talking about the Fukushima disaster, which many of us remember from Japan. And it says here, the Fukushima disaster reminded us all of the dangers inherent in uranium-fueled nuclear reactors. And this was written a little while back, several years back. But they say here, back then, TEPCO continued to struggle to contain and cool the fuel rods. Highlights just how energetic uranium fission reactions are and how challenging to control. So, the reaction just keeps going, right? And it's so hot and they can't really get in there. They couldn't get to, do anything to it. Of course, the level of energy is exactly why we use nuclear energy. It's incredibly efficient as a source of power and creates very few emissions and carries a laudable safety record to boot. The conversation, nuclear good but uranium dangerous, regularly leads to a very good question. What about thorium? Thorium sits 2 spots to the left of uranium on the periodic table in the same row or series. Elements in the same series share characteristics. With uranium and thorium, the key similarity is that both can absorb neutrons and transmute into fissile elements. This means that thorium could be used to fuel nuclear reactors just like uranium. And as proponents of the underdog fuel will happily tell you, thorium is more abundant in nature than uranium, is not fissile on its own. And this is super important because it means they can stop the reaction when necessary. If something's going wrong at the reactor, they can literally shut it down and everything's fine. It doesn't overheat. It doesn't continue reacting like happens with uranium. So you end the nuclear meltdown problem. The biggest objection, you end it by using thorium. It also produces waste products that are less radioactive, which is the other big objection, right? Is you've heard these for years, where they'll say this nuclear facility is shipping its waste to this facility, and then it's leaking into the earth, and it's going to be reactive for thousands of years or whatever, right? Thorium is not the byproduct is not as dangerous. And let's see what else. Oh, and it generates more energy per ton, so it's more efficient. It's more useful. So why, he asks, are we using uranium? Well, as you might recall, research into the mechanization of nuclear reactions was initially driven not by the desire to make energy, but by the desire to make bombs. The $2 billion Manhattan Project that produced the atomic bomb sparked a worldwide surge in nuclear research, most of it funded by governments embroiled in the Cold War. And here we come to it, he says. Thorium reactors do not produce plutonium, which is what you need to make a nuke. How ironic. The fact that thorium reactors could not produce fuel for nuclear weapons meant the better reactor fuel, thorium, got short shrift. Yet today, we would love to be able to clearly differentiate a country's nuclear reactors from its weapons program. And then he goes a little bit more into detail about thorium and uranium. I'll put a link up on the Twitter over at twitter.freetalklive.com, on our Mastodon at toot.freetalklive.com, and our Telegram at telegram.freetalklive.com. You can get into a lot more detail on the differences between uranium and thorium. But I think that for a lot of people that have objections to nuclear power, it seems to me like their objections are primarily based in the fact of meltdowns and the byproducts. And this solves those problems.
I mean, it's a natural development. Like, we have clean coal that we burn in the U.S. At first it was dirty and it wasn't particularly good for the environment. But as people were able to use it and make progress and make capital, then they could use that capital to reinvest it into finding cleaner ways. So, if something's, not that I encourage practices that cause massive amounts of pollution, but I mean, banning it isn't always the best way. I mean, sometimes just letting the market go, it's eventually going to have a solution and get better.
This is an issue of liability, I think, and if you have to factor in the liability of a nuclear power plant, especially a more dangerous one, you would find that it's no longer cost effective. Now the question is, but you said they waive liability for them. The government waives liability, so they don't have to deal with the costs, basically, right? And nor the if they pollute the environment, they don't have to
pay to clean it up.
But I think the same thing would apply whether it's a you're drilling for oil or you're drilling or you're doing nuclear. You're going to take more steps, more precautions if you have that full liability to deal with if in the event of a tragedy. And you also have the issue of insurance. No insurance company is going to insure you if you're not doing things in a way that reduces the insurance company's liability.
Right.
So, I think there are solutions to these problems, and it's not necessarily that we need to ban any of them. It's just we need to
let the free market
let the free market deal with the problem
and hold people liable for their actions, including corporations.
Exactly.
So you want to bring up whatever you want, please do. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. He's David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, David.
Yeah, since you're talking about my cousin, Ernest Orlando Lawrence,
who?
Manhattan Project.
Oh, okay.
You jogged some memories. You just mentioned the Manhattan Project. My cousin, I would argue, was the single most influential person in the Manhattan Project because he's the one that recommended to General Groves that General Groves hire his friend and colleague Oppenheimer to run the Manhattan Project.
Huh.
And then Lawrence himself went over to Oak Ridge and refined nuclear material, and I see that Oak Ridge is doing some studies on thorium that you mentioned. And since we were short on time and you mentioned that, I thought I would bring that up. And,
excellent.
There's all kinds of, if you Google, here's a picture right there. If you Google Ernest Orlando Lawrence and any other keyword, and Oppenheimer, for instance, and then look at the images associated, there's all these guys, Oppenheimer, Seaborg, Teller, who else? So there's one more
I'll
guy
take your word for it. Hey, thanks for the call tonight, David. I appreciate it. So what else did we need to know, Chris, about this terrorist bill in the EU that is apparently going to result in these policing agencies targeting the Internet Archive, and likely a bunch of other websites.
I mean, this is basically something that just can't even work. But let me here's what the Internet Archive had to say.
Oh, good.
So and as the archive explains, there's simply no way that, one, the site could have complied with the terrorist content regulation had it been law last week when they received the notices, and two, that they should have blocked all that obviously non-terrorist contents. The Internet Archive has a few staff members that processes takedown notices from law enforcement who operate in the Pacific time zone. Most of the falsely identified URLs mentioned here, including the report from the French government, were sent to us in the middle of the night between midnight and 3 a.m. Pacific. And
the law says they have to remove it within an hour.
Right. And all of the reports were sent outside of business hours of the Internet Archive. The 1 hour requirement essentially means that we would have to take reported URLs down automatically and do our best to review them after the fact. Meaning, basically, you would just have to, everything would just have to be taken down on the whim of a police or law enforcement.
It's terrifying.
And it could mean millions or an entire site, even effectively, based on what they're saying here.
How come they don't just say, screw you, Europe? We're not based there. They're in San Francisco.
It's a good question. And I don't think I don't know if they have any operations in Europe, and they might. And that's the problem. If they have any kind of connection to Europe, whether it's bank accounts or people or employees or anything, remote workers, you could end up finding yourself, them having access to basically your bank account. And at that point, it's like game over, even if you ignore it. And
I'd tell them to go pound sand and close down any kind of European offices.
I think they should. I think more people should, and I actually wish more websites would ban Europeans effectively, just like many of them already do, especially news sites, because of the ridiculous laws they've got there now.
All right. Hey, don't forget to check out more of Chris on his show. It's Freedom Decrypted. It's a tech show with a liberty slant.
Yes.
Over at freedomdecrypted.com. Vincent, you've got your own show, Questioning Authority. It'll come up tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern on LRN.FM, ShireFreeMedia.com. That's your website. Stick around if you're on Twitch or DLive. We got more coming up on the internet only.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.